For centuries, the idea of the hollow earth has been present in our human history, and if we go back in time, it has been present in all religions that speak and write about another world under the earth. Orpheus soared, Eridanus, Odysseus descended therein. Christianity, hell is there, and for the Chinese, there is the afterlife. The hell is there, and for the Chinese, there is the afterlife. The mystics and the Buddhas of Tibet believe that in the center of our planet is the legendary Agartha, and its capital, Shambhala, where their wise teachers live as a higher civilizations. Today, we're going to dive deeper into the hollow earth theory, and whether there really is life deep beneath the bowels of our planet. Welcome to the new episode of The Whole Theory Holds that the Earth is a whole planet with ancient entrances to the underworld scattered throughout it, with the North and South Poles being two of the main entrances. This theory has been reported since ancient times, and the scientists such as Edmund Halley have defended it. Throughout history, let us try to trace the history of this hypothesis. Plato is considered to be the first theoretician of the hollow earth, and that this idea was raised by the famous scientist and member of the St. Petersburg Academy of Sciences, the mathematician Leonhard Euler. According to one of Euler's theories, our planet is hollow, and inside it there is another sun that shines above the habitable continents. He recognized the existence of a hollow shell, separated at a great distance from the nucleus. This shell, according to him, has exits at the North and South Poles. As the scientists believed, such a device on Earth would provide better stability to the planet than several shells. Now the idea of a hollow Earth was also advocated in 1692 by the famous astronomer Edmund Halley, the same one who discovered the Halley's Comet. He believed that the Earth consisted of shelves about 800 kilometers thick, two concentric outer shelves separated by atmospheres and having their own magnetic poles, and a central core with diameters similar to those of Venus, Mars, and Mercury. Also, the spheres rotated at a different speed. Halley believed that the leakage of the inner atmosphere was the cause of the Northern Lights. In 1818, the American engineer John Cleave Symes appealed to the American Congress to finance an expedition to search for a passage into the interior of the Earth. On April 15, 1818, members of the Congress, the president of the university, and several great scholars received the message. I declare that Earth is hollow and habitable within, containing a number of solid concentric spheres, one within the other, and that it is open in the poles of 12 or 16 degrees. I ask 100 brave companions, well equipped to start from Siberia in the full season with reindeer and sleighs on the ice of the frozen sea. I engage, we find a warm and rich land, stocked with thrifty vegetables and animals, if not men. I pledge my life in support of this truth, and I am ready to explore the hollow if the world will support and aid me in the undertaking. Of course, they didn't give him money, or even buy into his theory, although he gained a large group of followers after that. In the 20th century, with new knowledge of geography and geology, more people who continued to try to research the mysterious world were appearing. For example, some of the Nazi leaders, lovers of ancient myths and the occult in Germany, showed considerable interest in such theories. By the turn of the 20th century, other scientists, such as William Reed and Marshall Gardner, also believed they could prove the existence of inner world. In the 20th century, with new knowledge of geography and geoloon, of the most curious facts used by Arctic explorers is that air and water temperatures become warmer as they approach the North Pole. Strange, isn't it? Based on these and other observations, they also argue that mammoths are not extinct, but still inhabit Earth's interior. In Central Asian, Buddhists believed in a wonderful land beneath our feet, known as Agartha. Agartha is supposed to be a place where beings are more beautiful and wiser than us, and who have a king who has the power to read the human soul for thousands of years. Tibetan scholars, in addition to teaching about an inner and peaceful world, have said that they are in contact with the king of the inner world, or supreme ruler for the entire planet, whose representative to the outer world is the Dalai Lama. They also talk and write about tunnels that connect Tibet to the inner world, saying that there are many more like these on Earth, such as those found under the Great Pyramids of Egypt and South America. Entrances to underground cities are said to exist around the vast Amazon basin and connect the lost city of El Dorado to the rest of the ancient world. The capital of this inner world, and therefore of the entire world, is a city called Shambhala. In Sanskrit, Shambhala means place of peace, tranquility, and happiness. According to the Buddhists, there are many portals through which the inner earth Agartha can be reached, but only if they are willing to admit you. Some people believe that there are exactly 7 doors leading to the surface, which can coincident with the 7 chakras of the earth, similar to the 7 chakras of man. It is believed that the Lemurians and Atlanteans built pyramids on these energy centers, and they are in the jungles of Amazonia in Mexico, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, under the Taklamakan Desert in Central Asia in China. Agartha is believed to be home to extinct civilizations such as the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, and it is also believed that the inhabitants of northern Mexico made dungeons to hide from the erupting volcanoes. In the 1920s, archaeologist Edmund Cayce explored many caves in South America that supposedly had an entrance to the inner earth. It is said that somewhere there, in one of the caves, a spaceship belonging to the Atlanteans was found. Now that's all fine, but if we follow the path of logic and check the satellite images, it should get really clear. Well, yes, but we have a problem. NASA photos and videos of both poles are very rare. They're hard to find, but even when there are some, they're all covered with either ice or some anomaly, or clouds, or covered on purpose. On November 23, 1968, the American space probe SI-7 took several pictures of the North Pole in the complete absence of clouds. In these pictures, a huge black hole is clearly visible in the region of the pole. The photos are authentic. Expertise has been conducted more than once. Their publication rekindled interest in the theory that our planet is hollow and that other life could exist inside. Let's look at the facts. For example, the Sun Dong Cave in central Vietnam, which has its own river, its own jungle, and can hold a 40-story skyscraper. It is 6.5 kilometers long, 200 meters high, and 150 meters wide. And Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, North America, which is the longest cave system on Earth. The total length is 591 kilometers and has not yet been explored to its end. So, who can confirm for us that these naturally formed caves of nature do not go much deeper? In India, the Ramayana and the Bhagavad Gita are the 2 most famous texts. The Ramayana tells the story of the great avatar Rama, and the Gita, the story of Krishna. The Ramayana describes Rama as an emissary from Agartha, who arrives on aero vehicle. These aero vehicles were called Vimanas, meaning the car or chariot of the gods. Interestingly, flying objects have remained a part of all stories about underground civilizations. In Egypt, it was believed that a secret tunnel connected the Great Pyramid in Giza with an underground city where the pharaohs communicated with the gods of the underworld. In 1895, the Nobel Prize winner, Fridtjof Nansen, set out an expedition to the North Pole, but completely lost his orientation when he came across a place that was not on any of the maps, and he had the best orienting devices of his time. Many strange things happen, one of which is the sudden change in temperature from very cold to startlingly hot. It's not clearly where Hansen was, but he certainly wasn't in Kansas. Central Asia is home to legends of an underground race called the Agati. The Altai Mountains are home to the Chud tribe. In the book Shambhala, Arkrig says that the name Chud in Russian has the same origin as the word miracle. His guide through the Altai Mountains told him that the Chud were originally strong but peaceful tribe that flourished in this area in the distant past. Nikolai Ryrich also mentions that everywhere in the Altai Mountains on the way to cotton, the horses' hoofs sounded hollow when they struck the ground, as if they were riding over vast underground caverns. Other members of the caravan addressed Ryrich with the following: "Do you hear what hollow underground passages we cross? Through these passages, people who are familiar with them can reach distant countries. A long time ago people lived there, and now they went inside and found an underground passage to the underworld. Very rarely some of them resurface. In our market, such people come with strange, very ancient money, but no one can even remember the time when this money was used here." When Ryrich asked if he too could see such people, his companions told him, "Yes, if your thoughts are high enough to come into contact with these holy people, for only sinners are found on earth, and pure and brave people pass on to something more beautiful." The first information about the findings confirming the existence of mysterious people living underground appear in the magazine Amazing Stories in 1946. The article was written by the American writer, journalist and scientist Richard Shaver. He writes about his contact with the inhabitants of the underground civilization. The author claims that he managed to live among underground mutants for several weeks. The scientist describes the appearance of the underground inhabitants as follows. They look like demons from the ancient legends. Of earthlings, one can attribute these stories to the wild imagination of a famous journalist, but after the publication of these records, the magazine received many responses from readers who confirmed his words. The hollow earth is described in the novel by academician Vladimir Obruchev, Plutonia. Jules Verne wrote about it in the novel Journey to the Center of the Earth. Nikolai Rekrig, and many other authors as well. This hypothesis was treated very seriously in Hitler's Germany, and they even undertook a search for passages to the interior of the Earth. In 1969, the popular book The Hollow Earth was published by Dr. Raymond Bernard, who at the time disappeared into the caves of South America, and he reached the underground world, as his followers believe. The legend of Agartha is also discussed in detail by another writer, the self-educated Christian hermetic Saint Yavis, the Altfer, who, thanks to his marriage, which made him very wealthy, was able to indulge his longings and gain mystical understanding, while also providing him with a number of contacts with major names in French occultism, and access to membership in a number of Masonic and Rosicrucian orders. In 1885, he began taking Sanskrit lessons from Haji Sharif, about whom extremely little is known, except that he left India in 1857. The manuscripts of the lessons which he took are preserved in the Library of Sorbonne in Paris. In them, Sharif mentions the great school of Agartha and the holy land of Agartha. Although he did not have the opportunity to visit Agartha physically, the Altver finds an ingenious alternative. By releasing his astral body, or by astral projection, he is able to visit this realm in energy form. His astral adventures were published in series of books, which he published at his own expense. However, the most interesting thing is that he destroys the entire batch of his last work, Mission de Lindell, as he fears that he has revealed too many secrets about Agar.da and may pay for this transgression with his life. Only 2 copies survive, one he kept for himself and one hidden from the printer. According to him, Agar.da moved underground at the beginning of Kali Yuga, around 3200 BC, and its inhabitants possessed technology impressive for the time in which he lived. The inhabitants of Agartha knew well about the surface dwellers, and sometimes sent agents, in which all the knowledge of the earth was recorded on stone tablets, including even the means by which the living could communicate with the souls of the dead. In 1908, Willis George Emerson's book with the strange title, The Smoky God, was published, which was presented as a true story about the mysterious adventure of the Norwegian sailor Olaf Jansen and his father. While sailing north, they fell into a hole around the North Pole and ended up in an unknown world where a highly developed civilization lived. Its inhabitants communicated telepathically and moved at great speed on disc-shaped aircrafts. There also was a sun located in the center of the earth. Their capital was the original Garden of Eden. Later works by other authors such as Agartha's Secrets of the Underground Cities have identified the civilization Jansen encountered with Agartha, although Emerson did not use this name. After 2 years, the father and son left this world through a hole all the way to Antarctica at the South Pole. On the way out, the father perished in the ocean, but the son survived and somehow returned to Europe. Because the stories he told about this seemingly fantastic world, Olaf Jansen was imprisoned for 24 years in a mental hospital. He was considered abnormal at the age of 90. He befriended Willis George Emerson. On his deathbed, he told him in detail about his adventure, supporting his account with real journals and maps of the road. Until his death, Olaf convinced those around him of the veracity of what happened to him and his father. In the book, he said that humans there live from 400 to 800 years, and that are highly advanced in science. They can relay their thoughts to each other through a certain type of radiation, and have energy sources far more powerful than our electricity. There are the creators of flying saucers, which are powered by this powerful energy derived from the electromagnetism of the atmosphere, and they are about 4 meters tall. He says that it rained there once a day, and the title of the book comes from the name Smokey's son that used to be there. Also, his descriptions of silent flying objects are amazing. He says that they encountered the atmospheric pressure, or, as he calls, gravity, and so they stayed in air. The more fantastic the theory sounds, the more alive it becomes, and in the 20th century it surfaced again. In the works of the famous mystical conspirator, Miguel Serrano. He was a politician, ambassador of Chile in India, Bulgaria, Austria, communicated with Roerich, Indira, Gandhi, Dalai Lama, and many other famous world celebrities. After World War II, he worked for a long time in the UN Atomic Energy Commission. But in addition to all of this, he raised the incredibly insane theory of the development of humanity and the emergence of a race of superhumans, which Serrano published before the beginning of World War II. The theory was so popular with Hitler and the terrorists of the Third Reich that they included it as a part of their plans. Serrano took the theory of the hollow earth literally, and believed that inside the earth there is a space suitable for human life, which has its own sun, grass, trees, rivers. In the hollow earth live the representatives of the future race of the earth, and you can get there through a system of caves in the Himalayas, in Tibet, in Pamirs, the Andes, but there are also entrances at the poles, the Arctic and Antarctica. Serrano mentioned the existence of an oasis with warm waters near the coast of Antarctica, but he himself traveled to Antarctica with a Chilean military expedition. Another interesting fact is that the United States government does not allow airplanes to fly over the poles. All flights are directed to fly past the poles. Any pilot flying over these areas can tell you so. Another thing, icebergs that float past the poles are made of cool water, not salt water. Another interesting question is, why is it warmer at the poles 600 miles away than 1,000 miles away in 1943? Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz said a rather remarkable phrase: "The German submarine fleet is proud of the fact that on the other side of the world it has created an impregnable fortress for the Führer." It turns out that from 1938 to 1943, the Nazis built a secret base in Antarctica. There was a secret compound of the German submarines Führer's convoy, which included 35 submarines. At the very end of the war, in the port of Kiel, they were stripped of their torpedo armament and loaded with containers of various goods and boarded by mystery passengers whose faces were hidden by surgical masks. The crew of the submarines was chosen from among sailors who did not have families or living relatives, and together with them they took a vow of silence. The commander of one of the submarines was 25-year-old Wilhelm Bernhardt, and on the night of April 13, 1945, the submarine U-530 left Kiel. Reaching the shores of Antarctica, the crew members found a suitable ice cave there and carefully unloaded the containers with relics of the Third Reich, including documents and personal belongings of Hitler. And this is the first stage of the operation, codenamed Valkyrie II. On July 10, 1945, U-530 entered the Argentine port of Mar del Plata and surrendered to the victors. Euro-ufologist and virtual archaeologist Valentin Dektoriev made a new sensational discovery in Antarctica, his favorite place for research. With the help of satellite photos, he claims to have been able to find the legendary entrance of the underground world, where Hitler and his entourage probably once escaped after the fall of the Third Reich. This is written by Isabel. It is no coincidence that the Antarctica seriously excited the Nazi leaders and their subordinates, German scientists, esoterists, mystics. The thing is, that's not just a no-man's land, as some researchers of the activities of the secret missions of the Third Reich have believed, but also a possible entry point to the underworld, if it's assumed that such one exists, considering what we know from the legends of all the peoples of the world. This is not difficult at all. Some scientists are even quite argumentatively proving now that the Earth is hollow, and it is quite possible that such a world like ours, and such a civilization, which unlike ours, does not wage a constant struggle with the natural and cosmic elements, was formed in it. One that's more calmer, ancient, wise, and powerful. The entrance to this underground world was sought by many, not least Hitler, but it is believed that the leader of the Third Reich miraculously managed to find it in Antarctica. A few years ago, sensational news spread across the internet from the American virtual archaeologist Joseph Skipper, who claimed to have found the Antarctic entrance to the underground kingdom on satellite images. Unfortunately, this finding has not yet been confirmed or refuted. But here is a new find, a new entry into the underground world. Now from the Russian explorer from the Urals. It can't be a volcano, crater, Valentin says. Note the surface of the inner part of the mountain formation I discovered is very steep, but there is no solidified lava. Here are the coordinates of the entrance. See for yourself and draw your own conclusions. If you have even the slightest chance, go there to explore. It gets very interesting when the researchers throw in the reptilian race as well. In India, they are known as Nagas, snake-like people or lizard people who inhabit the underground cities of Patala and Bhavagati. These centers are believed to be located beneath the Himalayas, and from there the Nagas wage wars with their own kind. With humans and with other subterranean inhabitants of the great Agartha Empire. Even today, millions of Hindus believe that the entrance to Patala is the well of Shesha in Benares. In his book The Venomous Reptiles, researcher Minton noted that it was a real entrance with 40 steps that led to a concentric depression and ended against a closed stone door surmounted by a cobra. Bas-relief professor Ernst Moldashov had a similar experience in the attempt to enter such well-guarded premises in the Samadhi cave. Tibet is also associated with a mystical tomb, also called Patala, to which a system of tunnels leads ending in a vast underground cavity. It is believed that these underground highways probably run through the entire Asian continent and even beyond. The Naga civilization is highly developed and possesses advanced technologies. Among their inventions are so-called the striking rays and the Vimana, or disc-shaped airships. These machines are described in detail in the ancient Vedic texts, including the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana. In South America, they are amazing caves connected by endless complex transitions, the so-called Chincanasi. Indian Hopi legends say that snake people live in their depths. These caves are practically unexplored. By order of the authorities, all those entering them are tightly closed with bars. In Chincanas, dozens of adventurers were unhappy. Some tried to penetrate the dark depths of curiosity. Others, because of the thirst for profit, the treasures of the Incas are hidden in the legends of Chincas. And those lucky people who were able to get out of the creepy caves were forever damaged in the mind. From the inconsistent stories they were telling, we can only imagine what creatures they met in the depths of Earth. These inhabitants of the lower world were both human and snake alike. Are there any other stories that prove the existence of the inner world? What do you think about this hypothesis? You will be amazed of what we found about the hollow Earth, but we will continue next week in part 2. We bow before you, and thank you for watching. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.